Today we're talking about something I get asked about all the time, gluten-free sourdough. Now you guys know I bake traditional sourdough. My starter is very much a wheat flour girl. She has her lane, she knows who she is. But my friend Candice has celiac disease and she bakes completely gluten-free. She also has a gluten-free sourdough starter, and today I'm bringing her on so we can compare our starters and talk about how gluten-free sourdough starters work. And this is also going to lead to another video where Candice and I are actually going to make gluten-free sourdough bread together. But before you can make gluten-free sourdough bread, you need a gluten-free starter. So that's where we're going to start today. So let's welcome in Candice. Come on in.
Hello, thanks Heather.
Okay, I'm so excited she's here. Candice is a food blogger from This Vivacious Life, and she makes everything gluten-free, including sourdough, which is why she's here, and I'm gonna let her be the gluten-free sourdough expert today. All right, let's get to it. All right, I guess we can start at the very beginning. This is my traditional sourdough starter. I mean, look at how bubbly and happy she is. Now, I feed my starter with this organic all-purpose flour, which obviously comes from wheat, so it's definitely not gluten-free. So show me your starter.
Yes, so this is my gluten-free starter. She has bubbles. She's happy too.
Yeah.
I feel like they look very similar actually.
They really do.
And I feed mine with brown rice flour. This is what I chose, one singular flour. It is gluten-free naturally.
Yeah, that's the thing. When a lot of gluten-free, like I've looked at a lot of gluten-free recipes and they have a blend of like 10 different flours in them, and it always seems a little bit overwhelming, like trying to bake with gluten-free, flours, because there's so many different ones that people are putting in. But with your starter, it's just the brown rice flour.
It is. I actually tried, I did an experiment. I put 3 jars to start my sourdough. I did a brown rice, I did a sorghum, and I did a gluten-free all-purpose flour, kind of like a Bob's Red Mill or something.
Yeah.
And I found that the brown rice just produced the most beautiful results and the most traditional looking results with all those bubbles.
Yeah.
I think the sorghum was great too, but it's not as readily available. It's a little bit more expensive. People aren't as familiar with it. And I wanted people to be able to get it at the grocery store like they get their flour like they used to.
I mean, it's hard to like be searching for specialty flours, and I don't even, honestly, I've never even heard of sorghum flour. So if you told me to get some sorghum flour, I would be like, I don't know where to get that.
I quit. I'm done.
But honestly, I'm looking at my starter and I'm looking at Candice's starter, and I mean, they're both very bubbly. There's lots of activity happening in the jar on this starter. I mean, honestly, if you put this in front of me, I probably wouldn't know that this was made with brown rice flour and mine was made with all-purpose flour. So that's pretty impressive, and they're very light and bubbly for sure. And I definitely feel like this could definitely make some really good bread. So
yeah, and that's always my goal. When someone tells me, I never knew this was gluten-free, that's always my greatest compliment. And so even when it comes to the sourdough starter, that's a huge compliment. And I will say, when I tried the all-purpose flour, it had a combination of gluten-free flours plus xanthan gum, and that's the problem. It really did not work in a sourdough starter. It needs the simplicity.
Plus, I'm one of those people, I think xanthan gum is not good for you, in certain quantities, maybe just a tiny amount, but I really try to avoid that. And then I just smelled the starters because I'm kind of weird like that. But, okay, smell this one. This is so weird. Smell my starter.
They do smell different.
Okay, they smell different. To me, the gluten-free starter, it smells sweeter. Yeah, it actually smells sweet, and mine smells more like a yogurt. Okay, so that's definitely different. Yes. Okay, so I'm excited to actually get in here and stir these starters up so that we can kind of see the difference. Now, I fed my starter 4 hours ago. When did you feed yours?
Ooh, I think it was nearly 4 hours ago, maybe 4.5.
How long does it take to get to peak?
I would say between 4 and 6 hours.
So the exact same, 4 to 6 hours from feeding to get to peak, which is exactly the same as mine. Okay, so right now, if you're making regular sourdough and you have somebody in your life that wants gluten-free sourdough bread, things are looking pretty similar at this point, okay? So I have my favorite spatula jar here, $5 for 3-pack, pretty amazing. And I'm gonna stir mine up. We can go on the overhead, and then Candice will stir hers, and you can kind of see the difference and how bubbly they are, okay? All right, let's get in there. We're gonna stir them down so you can see the difference.
Yours is a lot more sticky.
Yep.
Than mine is.
Yep. And you see that my starter was at the top of the jar, and now just stirring it one time, it's down here halfway. So it definitely had a lot of air in there, which is good. You want to see that. It feels light and airy. I always say that my starter feels like a giant marshmallow, just like how your dough should feel when you're done with bulk fermentation. And that is that. Okay. CHANDICE'S is a little bit more, what's the
Paste.
best way to describe this? Yeah,
It's a bit more
it's
like a
like
paste.
icing almost.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the consistency of icing or like a really thick cake batter, okay?
Yeah.
It feels very smooth, almost creamy. It's very interesting. Whereas mine feels like stickier.
Yep.
I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Which is why I will say, I know people don't love xanthan gum and other things, but when someone's like, can I make a gluten-free sourdough with 2 ingredients? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna need other things to bring back that binder of, this has no binder. Yours has the binder of gluten.
So gluten, if you don't really know what gluten is like the balloon that your bread needs. So the gluten is the structure. Think of a balloon and we're blowing that balloon up and the balloon is getting inflated. That's going to trap all the air and the gases that we generate during bulk fermentation. So we need a really strong balloon. We need a really strong gluten structure to trap all of that gas. Now, if you don't have a strong gluten structure, there's nowhere to trap all of that gas and it's just gonna come out of your bread and then you're gonna end up with flat pancake loaves, which we definitely don't want. So you have to figure out a different way to do that when you're using a gluten-free starter or making a gluten-free bread because it doesn't have that gluten in it, right? Which is probably why you're using a combination of flours when you actually make the gluten-free bread. But the starter is pretty easy. I mean, it's just the one ingredient, right?
So easy.
Okay, we're gonna feed our sourdough starters so you can see the different ways that we do it. And I find this really interesting because Candace is a little loosey-goosey with her starter and I am not loosey-goosey. And I don't teach you guys to be loosey-goosey with the starter, but I think it's great to see different ways that people actually are able to make sourdough because there are so many different ways to make sourdough bread. Neither right nor wrong, just different. And you need to do what works for you. Okay, so I've got my sourdough starter here. I discarded all but 100 grams. I'm gonna do a 1-1-1 ratio feeding just to make this easy for you, which means I'm gonna keep 1 part of sourdough starter, which is 100 grams, and I'm gonna feed it with equal parts of flour and water. So 100 grams of sourdough starter, 100 grams of water, and 100 grams of my all-purpose flour that I like to feed my starter with. So I'm gonna start by adding my liquid because that just makes it a lot easier to incorporate. I don't stress if I got like 99 grams of water instead of 100, that's fine. All right, let me just mix this up.
You're inspiring me to get a scale and want to be less loosey-goosey.
I feel like, I don't know how you can make sourdough without a scale, but Candace is gonna show us that you can because we are gonna do another video where we actually make gluten-free sourdough starter. So we'll be making both of them together, or not sourdough starter, we're gonna make gluten-free sourdough bread so that you can actually see how we do that. Let me get another spoon. Okay, so now I'm just gonna add 100 grams of flour to my jar. I'm gonna try not to spill and make a giant mess, which, you know, could definitely happen over here. And I feel like, am I killing you?
No, we're good. It's not gonna go in here. I'm guarding it. We're good.
This is like a dangerous thing, okay?
No,
Which
we're
is
good.
another thing. I know a lot of people watch these videos that actually own micro bakeries or are thinking about selling their sourdough starter. And if you are gonna be doing a gluten-free sourdough, which I do think would be hugely popular, I think a lot of people would love to have gluten-free sourdough. I've had so many people ask me at the farmers markets and bakery, like, hey, do you have gluten-free sourdough? And I just don't. But if you're thinking about doing that, make sure that maybe you make your gluten-free sourdough bread in a different area. You know, if you have multiple places like a pantry and a kitchen, keep the ingredients separate. Like, people with celiac are very, very serious, and rightly so. So you really, if you're gonna do that, need to be very, very careful. Like, we're talking different baking mats and everything.
Different jars. Even baking your gluten-free first in the oven instead of having that leftover flour in there.
Yes, because that could be really dangerous for someone with celiac. Okay, so I fed my starter. I want you to see the consistency. It's a very, very thick, like a super thick pancake batter, okay? Hardly coming off my spatula here. And that's the consistency that I like with my sourdough starter. It will take about 4 hours to peak. It's probably gonna double and overflow the jar, so I should probably take some of this out. But there you go. That's how I feed my traditional sourdough starter. And now let's see how Candace does it. Do you want the scale?
You know what? I want your skill. Let's do this. Let's try it. Okay, I'll do it how I normally do it, but I think you've inspired me moving forward. So typically what I do is I just, and let's be honest, weight is really different. So that's why I kind of like scoop, which is not the best method either, but then I kind of do this and get a little bit of that out, and I just measure it off with a knife. and then just pop it in there. And I find that I usually almost have eyeballed that it's about 2 of these or maybe even half of one.
So she has a half cup measurement right there.
Yeah.
So you're putting what, like 3/4 of a cup of your brown rice flour in?
Yeah, basically equal, kind of the same way you do. And then I'm just gonna use the same one again. And I know when you're first starting, this doesn't help you, but once you start working with your flours and everything and loving it and seeing it, you feel it. That sounds so hippy dippy, but you can see and be like, oh, yep, she likes that consistency. That's enough flour or that's enough water. But it's true. Measuring is much better way to go. And I will have all of that on my recipes on my website. I will have the measurements correct. It's just
with the weight and the volume.
Yes, absolutely. So that you can see it
Because I know
correctly.
the people here on the Keep It Sweet Kitchen channel, they have scales. We are scale people. We have transformed into sourdough bakers that use scales.
Yes, and you should use a scale for gluten-free baking too. I'm an advocate for the right things, and you'll see that on the recipes. Don't worry. I've gotten to the point, which you have too, and I love you're still using your scale, even though you could probably still eyeball it.
Yeah.
So I should probably be a better example of that. But mine, same thing. It's that thick consistency, and that's what I like too.
So we can show them side by side, and you can see the difference here. Okay, so Candice, is that how you normally would feed it?
That's how I feed it.
More flour, more water?
No,
That's
this is exactly how I do it.
So we have very different consistency in the starters. I mean,
again with the sticky and again with the smooth.
Yep, hers is very smooth, kind of like a batter almost, and mine is not really smooth, and it feels very sticky. Like, I feel like if I got her starter on my hands, I would be able to wipe it off pretty easily.
Literally with a paper towel.
Yeah, when I get the starter on my hands, you know that if you've ever made sourdough bread, it's like all over you, and it's impossible to get off, okay? So I think hers would be easier to handle. All right, so that's the difference, and we feed sourdough starters exactly the same way, except I'm doing mine by weight, and she's doing hers by volume, but...
Or by the love of my heart.
Yeah, she's measuring with her heart, and I'm having a little heart palpitation thinking about that. But it works for her.
I will do better in the future with a scale.
No, you should do what works for you, and I tell people that all the time. If you're doing something with your sourdough and it's working really well for you, you need to keep doing that, because if it's working, don't stop. Okay, so that is how we feed our sourdough starters. It's almost identical, and they look a little bit different, but that's to be expected, and in 4 hours, they will have risen, and they'll be nice and bubbly and ready to make some bread.
And then they'll look the same again.
Yep. Quick pause for a second. If you're finding this video helpful, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I've got tons of step-by-step sourdough videos. And if you need a really good sourdough starter, I also have mine available. I'll link it in the description. And let's keep on going. Okay, I moved my giant bag of flour because I don't want to poison Candice.
Thank you.
Yes. But okay, how often do you feed your starter? Like, I feed my starter every day. Do you feed it every day?
Not even close.
Okay.
I keep my starter in the fridge until I am ready to use her, and when I'm ready to use her, then I feed her. Otherwise, she just hangs out in the cool of the fridge.
So you take her out of the refrigerator, you discard, you feed her. How many times do you have to feed her before she comes back to life and is like ready to party?
Once.
One time. Okay.
Okay, let's say if I left her in the fridge for a little longer, she might need 2 feedings. But truly, no. Like, I split this one in 3 ways yesterday, and before that, I hadn't fed her for weeks.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Pretty amazing. I mean, I always tell you guys that sourdough starters are really resilient. I mean, and even a gluten-free sourdough starter is very resilient. Okay, so we talked about the flour that Candice uses for her gluten-free starter. We talked about how she feeds her starter and how she stores her starter. Now, one question that I get asked all the time in the bakery, because people are always asking, do you make a gluten-free bread? And I don't make a gluten-free sourdough bread, just because I don't feel comfortable telling anybody that I'm making something gluten-free when I can't have an entirely gluten-free kitchen. There's just no way that I can do that. But I have had people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to make gluten-free, sourdough for a family member, and I got this gluten-free flour from the grocery store, and it's like, gluten-free, I'm going to use that. But what they're forgetting is that you can't use your regular starter to make gluten-free sourdough bread, because your regular starter is made with flour from wheat.
Yes,
right?
And the first thing that I think when you say that, I want to make something for someone I love that's gluten-free, I'm like, don't worry, I would rather have flowers, just like real flowers from the garden, because there are so many things to think about. We think about it like sprinkles or confetti, okay? So if you got confetti on the counter and you were to touch it and then you washed your hands, would you still have confetti on your hands?
Yes.
Yes, you would.
Yeah.
And so it is huge, because 1/64 of a teaspoon can cause a reaction in someone with celiac disease. 1/64 of a teaspoon.
Gosh. Okay.
So as someone who has celiac disease, to me, I would only buy gluten-free bread from a gluten-free bakery, personally.
then so you're only getting stuff from a gluten-free bakery, but there is a difference between people who might have a gluten sensitivity or are gluten-free versus somebody who has celiacs, because I have family members who are gluten-free, but they can eat my sourdough bread as long as I do a long ferment on it. So like, for example, my sister loves my sourdough bread and she is gluten-free, but she can tolerate this. She's not celiac. So there is a difference, right?
Absolutely. And each person's gluten sensitivity is very different. And I think each person needs to advocate for themselves on where they're at on that scale. Because as we know, sourdough reduces the gluten by what, 90%? A significant amount. But with celiac disease, even that is not enough.
Got it. Okay, so know who you're baking for, right? And if you do have somebody in your family who you really need to bake gluten-free for, you're going to want to start by making a sourdough starter. Now, do you have instructions on how to make a gluten-free sourdough starter on your website?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so tell them where they can find that.
You can find everything on thisvivaciouslife.com.
Okay, so if you go to CHANDICE'S website, you'll be able to find her recipe to make a gluten-free starter, which I actually think would be really fun if you did that, if you have your regular starter and then you also start a gluten-free sourdough starter, especially because it seems so easy to maintain.
Yes.
You could definitely have that. And what a special gift for somebody, maybe not someone who's celiac unless you have a celiac kitchen, but somebody who's gluten-free and you just want to make them a loaf of bread. I mean, honestly, when my sister figured out that she could eat my sourdough bread, I think it was like the happiest day of her life. And now we don't live in the same state and I'm constantly shipping her bread. Okay. So, you know, if I had a gluten-free starter and I was able to make her a completely gluten-free loaf or gluten-friendly loaf, I think she would absolutely love that. So definitely check out the website if you're interested in that. It has been so much fun looking at these sourdough starters. Now, the last thing I want to do is show you the difference in our sourdough breads. Okay, Candice brought some of the gluten-free bread that she made. Which bread is this?
This is my honey whole grain, so it's a hearty, delicious sandwich loaf.
I mean, it looks really good and I've been smelling it the entire time she's here, so I'm very excited to try it. She's gonna slice into it, and then, you know, when I got her a bread knife, the first thing Candice said to me was, and I gave her the cutting board, what did you say?
I said, can I please have a piece of parchment paper? Because the cutting board is wood and wood has spores, so it can hold gluten. And a lot of people don't, I'm sure you do, but a lot of people don't scrub their wood cutting board.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even think about that. There might be some leftover gluten on the cutting board. So things that you need to think about that we don't think about if we're not gluten-free or celiac. Okay, so I'm keeping my bread far away because I don't want to contaminate Candice's bread, but she's going to slice into that to show you what it looks like, and then I will show you the inside of my traditional sourdough loaf so we can kind of see the difference.
Yes, and you did want to ask, you said to, like, how do we know?
How do you know the bread's done? That was my question when we were off camera. I was like, do you bake it until it's 205 degrees Fahrenheit internal temperature like I do? How do you know? So how do you know it's done?
Yes, temperature is great, and then obviously once you get a little bit more into it, you can hear that hollow.
So she's tapping the bottom and listening for the hollow sound. All right, and it's a beautiful golden brown color. So
thank you. So as with anything, I will say that gluten-free bread is always best when you give it a little bit of warmth and lather it in butter. Always. It's not going to be as, the exact same as regular bread, but
everything
it sure
tastes
is still
better
good.
Slathered in butter, right?
That's
I mean, come on. Everything tastes better when it's slathered in butter. So here is Candice's loaf. Now let's take a look at the inside of the traditional sourdough. And I think what you're seeing, I'm not going to get mine too close, okay?
Yes.
Staying away. But I think what you see in the bread is the difference in what gluten actually does, okay? But you can have bread if you're celiac. You just have to make it yourself, and then you can have delicious bread. So I'm really excited. The next time that Candice is on the channel, we're going to be making a traditional sourdough, gluten-free sourdough boule, okay? Instead of the beautiful honey wheat loaf, which I'm really excited to try. But that is kind of the difference between the bread. They're both golden brown. I see some blisters here. I don't see that, but I love that you bake this in a loaf pan because everybody knows I am a fan of sourdough bread in the loaf pan. I think it's perfect for beginners too because it forces the bread to rise up instead of falling flat, okay? So I love seeing this, plus it's the perfect size for the toaster, all right? I mean, let's just face it. Perfect size for the toaster and perfect size for sandwiches. So, okay, let's taste it. I'm excited.
Okay, here's yours.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, it is still kind of a little bit warm. It's a little bit warm.
So it is different than full of gluten, but I like this one. It's very hearty.
You know what? It tastes like wheat bread.
Yay.
And I taste a little bit of the honey oat. Is there oat flour in it?
Yes, oat flour.
Okay. If you've made my honey oat loaf that has the oats on the outside and honey inside, that's what this tastes like to me. So it's really good. I taste the
you.
honey. I definitely taste the oats, the oat flour. It's really good.
Thank
I'm
you.
going back for another bite. Traditional sourdough and gluten-free sourdough are both bread, but they're definitely not the same thing. The starter looks a little bit different, the flour behaves differently, and you have to understand what you're working with before you jump straight into gluten-free bread. And in the next video, Candice and I are going to take this a step further and actually make some gluten-free sourdough bread together. So if you need gluten-free sourdough because of celiac, gluten sensitivity, or you're baking for someone you love, this is going to be such a good place to start. I'll link Candice's blog down below so you can follow her and see all of her gluten-free recipes that she shares. There are some really amazing ones. And if you want to learn traditional sourdough, I've got you there too. Different starters, different flour, same goals. Good bread that doesn't make you want to cry in your kitchen.